Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom Sunday Brunch Show. I am your host, Mmmm, and of course, we are joined with here by Russ Whitfield. Good morning to you, Russ. How are you today?
I'm good, Aram. Thank you so much for asking. First, I'm going to start off by way of apology. As some of you know, I'm in United States at the moment, and I'm on my work laptop, not my home laptop. And my home laptop's got its camera in a decent place, but this work thing has it down here, so you can see. Um, I apologize for the angle, but I'm rolling with it. I'm rolling with it. How are you?
I am very well. I'm doing great. I am obviously, dealing with the fact that right now in New York, the weather is not what it should be for summer. We're well into June, and they had a fair here in Long Beach where I live, but it was so windy yesterday. It was practically gale force winds yesterday. So there really wasn't any way to enjoy the fair. And that was very disappointing to me, Russ. Some of these summer fairs are things that I look forward to. And, walking on the boardwalk, it was even difficult to walk on the beach because when it gets windy like that, the sand kind of blows everywhere. And it's not fun to be on the beach when it's windy like that. So I kind of missed that, being able to get that opportunity to enjoy the beach,
But
which is what I
talking
live
of
for the whole
wind,
year.
Talking of wind, I can see you have little bit of a fan on there. You look like you're in a White Snake video. Are we going to be seeing you draped across a Porsche being showered in champagne as
You
David
might.
Coverdale? Oh, well, there we go. I'm going to call David Coverdale now. He's English. He'll know me.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to talk about that one of these days, or maybe even recreate that video because we happen to know for a fact, guys, and we are going to talk about this in a little while, that Russ does have heavy metal roots, guys.
He does.
So, so we definitely are going to talk about that today. And I also did want to thank the two people who sent in the generous tips last week. The first person was Stubble McShave. Stubble, I did want to thank you so much for the tips. It's very generous of you to do that. And I appreciate it because I still do need some subscribers on my channel, and I also appreciate any money that's sent this way because it allows me to continue to making videos and to keep positive fandom on the air. Now there is another gentleman who sent in a generous tip to me as well. And I'm just looking for his name in my email and I'm not finding it. But the gentleman who sent it, I wasn't even going to say his name because I saw his email address and I wasn't sure whether that was his regular name or his screen name. So I'm not going to say the email address. I might just say the initials in it when I find it, just to thank that gentleman for the generous tip. Thank you both, Stubble McShave and the other gentleman whose name I'm going to find before the end of this program in my email feed. Thank you so much. It is appreciated. And please feel free to, donate to Positive Fandom. My Stream Elements link is in the description of the video, but I'm also going to put it in the chat. And I also want to say good morning to everybody as you all are rolling in, of course. Good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson,
Man, the legend.
our faithful and what a fantastic friend and collaborator. Tom Jr. Jackson, you're the best.
He
He
really
says
is.
good morning to us. I'm trying to click it on here. It's not popping up. Why is it not popping up so we can see it?
There it
Oh,
is.
there
Okay,
we
now we can see it.
go.
We can see it.
Okay, good. Good morning to you, Tom Jr. Jackson. I hope you are well this morning. So good to see you as always. And Mario Lopez. Mario Lopez is here. Good morning, Mario, or good
Hey, Mario.
afternoon, Mario, right? It's
Mm.
afternoon where you are, Mario, in Portugal. So good to see you here this morning. And we also have Retro Nerd Girl. Hey,
Yay.
Retro Nerd Girl. Guys, check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. She has a fantastic channel. All that stuff that you love, all the stuff we grew up with, Retro Nerd Girl has you covered. So please go ahead and check out Retro Nerd Girl's
And
channel.
she puts in the chat, I love metal from the 1980s. I think myself and Retro Nerd Girl are pretty much on the same page about absolutely everything. I love metal from the 80s. I dropped out of college to join a heavy metal band, right, in the 80s. So thank you, Retro Nerd Girl.
Absolutely, Retro Nerd Girl. It's such a pleasure to have you here on a Sunday, as always. And we also have Mikey Lito is here. Hey,
With a
Mikey
new
Lito.
profile pic. Look at him. How suave. How
Very,
suave does
very
Mikey look
sharp.
in that? Rocking it, dude.
Yeah, he certainly is looking very, very sharp. Mikey Lito, it's always a pleasure to see you in the morning. And we also have Holy Hand Grenades. Good morning and happy Father's Day. That's right. In the United States, it's Father's Day. Russ, happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much. It's a little bit of a poignant one for me, actually. It's the first Father's Day in 17 years that I've not spent with my daughter because she's in England and I'm in America. So she texted me this morning to say hello, or this afternoon for her. So I'll chat to her after this broadcast. But thank
Okay.
you, RM. Much appreciated. And happy Father's Day to all the dads tuning in as well.
Absolutely. Happy Father's Day to you, fathers out there. And Holy Hand Grenades, I do have to come back at you with heavy hands, Holy Hand Grenades. Heavy hands right back at you. And guys, do please subscribe to Retro Nerd Girls channel. And we have Zachara 315 is here. Good morning, Zachara 315. It's so good to see you as well. Darth Plato is here. Hello, Darth Plato.
Salway, Darth Plato.
Yes, it's so good to see you too. And MCP Scotty is here. Hi, MCP Scotty. Guys, MCP Scotty has released some fantastic music. Please do put the link out in the description, MCP Scotty, of where we can find your music. So good to see you this morning. Lee McHenry. Hello, Lee McHenry. He says hello to everyone.
Hey, Lee.
Well, so nice to see you here this morning. And Tom Jr. Jackson has Mikey Lito's YouTube link in there. Guys, subscribe to Mikey Lito live on YouTube, everybody.
The man with the best handle on the internet. Hello.
Yes, Bloodsport 1. He says, good morning. And Russ Whitfield, the Avatar watch was fun. Well, thank you so much, Bloodsport 1. It was a pleasure to see you last night. Lorena Creole and I, on her channel, had a watch party of Avatar from 2009. And it was a wonderful watch party. And it was wonderful to watch it with you, Bloodsport 1. So thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. It was a great night, Bloodsport 1. And we also have Carlos A. Smith.
Oh, hey,
Carlos A. Smith. Hello. I love that planet. You got your own planet there. Morning, everyone. Are you broadcasting from there? I hope you are well, Carlos A. Smith. We love having you here. And Tom Jr. Jackson, thank you so much, Tom. Do you enjoy the content that we make? Support Positive Fandom at the link that Tom has there in the description there, guys. So, and I do appreciate it. And I promise you for the second guy, I will tell you who he is coming up in a few minutes. Joker Voice. Hey, Joker
There
Voice.
he is.
Good morning at Positive Fandom. Good morning, Russ. Hail chat. And Joker Voice also has his own channel, guys. Go ahead and subscribe to Joker Voice's YouTube channel. Tom Jr. Jackson says, thank you, Positive Fandom. You are the best as well. And Russ, you are a legend, sir.
Back at you, dude. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you do too much. You do too much, Tom Jr. Jackson. You really do. Thank you.
And Jeffrey Johnson says, good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to you, Jeffrey Johnson. We hope you are well today. So nice to see you here. Tom Jr. Jackson has put Joker Voices YouTube link in the description, guys. Please go ahead and subscribe. And we have Jin Korea. Jin Korea, hello and good morning to you, Jin Korea.
Is Jin Korea a video game character? Is he like... No, that's Jin Kazama I'm thinking of from... Is it Street Fighter or Dead or Alive or something like that? I don't know.
No, it's a good question, Jin Korea. Maybe you could tell us in the chat the details of your screen name. And it looks like he's got a sailor avatar. That is a sailor, right?
I don't know. He looks like a karate guy to me.
Oh, is it karate? I can't tell because it is very, very, very small. But no, that's great. Let us know what it is, Jin Korea, and we so appreciate you being here with us this morning. And also, here is MCP Scotty's link to his YouTube channel, but and he also has music that he plays. So, guys, please check out MCP Scotty's music. He just released a new album.
No way. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, we do have to check it out. It certainly is worth a listen to. Dennis Mason. Dennis Mason is here. Good morning. Hello, everybody. I pretty much, Dennis Mason is here. And Joker Force says he just finished his notes for his next video. And he is a recommendation for Netflix series Arcane. It is an excellent
Everybody
series.
says it. Everyone says it rules. I mean, I'm not big into anime or anything like that, but I really must check it out. But at the moment, I'm checking out so many things. I'm just going to say here, the lovely, wonderful, and awesome Keely Chow has just popped up in the chat. Hello, Keely.
Hi, Keely. Good morning to you. So good to see you, Keely Chow, as always. And Darth Plato says he thought it was Duke from G.I. Joe. I thought so too.
Okay.
But isn't that, is he a sailor? I don't know. I thought he was a sailor. Carlos A. Smith says he's currently mooring in Queens, New York, waiting for a decent ship to go planet hopping soon. Well, I might have to join you, Carlos. I'm not too far from Queens, New York. Maybe I can come along for the ride.
And me, honorary. I've got a cup of the Brooklyn Bridge here, so you know.
Yes, very nice indeed, guys. And we have Blue Sunrise. Blue Sunrise. Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Listening in the car right now, about to drive home. I love that blue sunrise, guys. And I just want to welcome everybody here. So good that you are all here. And speaking of Arcane, guys, I have reviewed Arcane with Dieter on my channel. So if you want to find out more about Arcane, do check it out on here on Positive Fandom as well. And after that, go to Joker Voice's channel and check out his review too. It would be great. And I can't wait to see Joker Voice's review. Joker Voice is currently in, oh yes, Tom Jr. Jackson also recommends Arcane, saying it's the most beautiful animation on television or streaming. It also recently won the Annie Awards, which is the animation awards, like 7 or 8 animation awards, guys. You won't be disappointed in the quality of the animation in the Arcane. So Russ, Russ, what is on your mind this week, Russ? From what I understand, you recently went to the movies.
I did. So yes, what's on my mind? 3 words: Top Gun and Maverick. So often we get films that are hyped up and we go and we can find that it wasn't all it said it was going to be. Well, I have to tell you that Top Gun Maverick is all it said it was going to be. It's every reviewer I have seen has been raving about this movie, and it's so worth it. I mean, you know, I absolutely loved it. As a screenplay, it's an architectural masterclass of how to construct the perfect screenplay.
Wow.
You know, everyone's gonna say, "Oh, you know, it's not the perfect movie." Well, for me, it was. There would be one aspect of it I would change, but we can't talk spoilers because not everybody has seen it, so I will remain silent on that part. But just the whole feeling of the film was brilliant, and it did what I loved about John Rambo and Rocky Balboa. That it looked back at the sort of the 80s, you know, it referenced what had happened in the previous movie, and it was part of the canon. It wasn't embarrassed to admit that this is where it had come from, a sort of MTV style video. We all know that. We all know what Top Gun, the original one, was. But this movie acknowledges that those events really, really happened. And it has nostalgia, but it has just the right amount of nostalgia. It doesn't overplay its hand on that at all. It even teases you, making you think it's going to do a nostalgia bit and then doesn't. Um, Tom Cruise plays it. Well, he's Tom Cruise, anyway. He's brilliant. He plays it to perfection. Jennifer Connelly is brilliant. Their performances are great. John Hamm, for me, was a real standout in that movie, and he doesn't really have much to do, but what he does do is really, really good. The young pilots that they got uh, were great. Um, I can't praise it highly enough. Um, it's it's not cheesy. It's predictable in the way that you sort of what you get when you're going in, but it's a proper summer blockbuster. It's a feel good movie. It's very America and all that. And like I think I said this last week, we need a bit of that. It's not embarrassed to be a patriotic film in any step by any stretch of the imagination. Um, and of course, yes, the story was really, really good. It was really great. And obviously, there's something going on between Maverick and Jennifer Connelly, but they talk about that relationship that they didn't have as adults. It's these people have had long lives at this point, and it acknowledges that, and it acknowledges the changes that you go through. And of course, it has no spoilers, because everybody knows that Val Kilmer's in the movie, and that bit of the film, knowing what we do about Val, especially, but it's just, oh man, I can't recommend it highly enough. I mean, I know we gave the Batman a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 for me, but it's an entirely different film than Batman, obviously. Um, but yes, I hope, now having seen this, I really hope we get a little bit more of this. Expendables 4 is coming out soon, or they're shooting it at the moment. I hope we get a little bit more of the 80s. I mean, there's that meme going around at the moment, isn't there, that Kate Bush is number one in the charts, Top Gun is number one in the movies, and America's fighting a proxy war with the Russians. Are we doing 1987 all over again? Well, entertainment-wise, I think we couldn't go far wrong doing 1987 again, actually. So maybe we'll get a little bit more of that.
Yeah, wow. What a raving review for Top Gun, Russ. Clearly, it is an incredible film, and so many people have talked about how wonderful it is, how, they love both the original and have fallen in love with this new version. We've waited so long for this Top Gun to come back. There's a lot about it that I think is really important, and part of the enjoyment, part of honestly, I think that if Tom Cruise wasn't involved with this, it would have never come back. They would have remade it with other actors. It wouldn't have been as good. It wouldn't have made as much sense. We want to relive a lot of those good times, but also we know that, people grow and they get older, and what do you do after that? I almost think that this was a perfect time to do this sequel rather than do it right after the original one was made. It would have been a very different kind of story and a very different kind of flavor to the Top Gun, let's say, legacy. But Tom Cruise deciding to, add that flair and enjoyment to a Hollywood premiere, just in what he believes is important for his movies, really does add to the fun of Top Gun. And, I think that looking at this, if you saw that type of support for every type of film, things would be very different. The involvement in the film is very different. And I can't wait to see Top Gun Maverick. I haven't gone to the movie theater in so long, Russ, but your review is definitely getting me even more excited than I was to see Tom Cruise in this film.
Well, of
Um,
course. Sorry, the thing about it is, as well, as often we talk about CGI and things like that. One of the things about a Tom Cruise movie is, and it's a bit twisted, really, but you kind of know that Tom Cruise is putting his life on the line in every film that he makes. He's setting himself on fire and sellotaping himself to airplanes and God knows what else. But it's him in a plane doing stuff, and that's insane. And it adds so much to the film with that knowledge but I guess buried in your subconscious. That this is kind of real. ish. I mean, obviously they're not blowing things up, but they were doing that stuff. And to take to your point about if they'd remade it, oh God, I'm actually welling up. It's like, God, could you imagine if they'd have done it with um. Oh, thank you, Jin. There you go. Bleach the anime character. Cheers, mate. Thank you so much. Um, if they'd have done it today and tried to put an agenda in it, it just would have been awful. And I think I was talking to Annie about this, and she's the opposite side of the political scale to me, if you like. But even she was saying, we need more of this. We're kind of tired. As I said to you last week, I think it was. I hope this is a rocky moment where we stop looking introspectively about America and all the terrible things that we've done and this and that. No, man, come on. It really was a non-satirical America fuck yeah movie, and great. Let's have a few more of those. Let's celebrate this great country, and it was brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Wow. Well, I have to say, I really do am excited for it, and everybody is talking about how much they enjoyed seeing it. Mikey Lito says that he saw it and it's worth seeing in the theater.
Yeah, someone was
Joker
saying I'm
Boy,
going to wait for it on DVD, and Mikey's going, "No, man, you've got to see it in the cinema." And I would agree. Yeah,
absolutely.
that's it.
That's right. Dark Lato says he's going to see it when he can rent it. It's worth it in the theater. We also know Tom Jr. Jackson has some very interesting points too about the original Top Gun and how many laws were broken. But we also know that there was a lot of practical effects in Top Gun Maverick, right,
Mm,
Russ?
absolutely, and you can tell. It just, yeah, it's so well crafted. RM. I mean, this is the point. If you want to learn how to write screenplays, watch that film. It's just like an architecture of screenwriting. It's just so good. It hits every single beat. When it wants you to cry, you're going to cry. When it wants you to laugh, you're going to laugh. When it wants to get you by the member berries, it'll get you by the member berries. Even the way that there are some flashbacks, and I'm not going to tell you what the flashbacks are because I don't want to spoil it. But the way that the flashbacks are visualized look like that really first shitty video to DVD transfer of the original Top Gun. It's done. It's kind of grainy, and it looks like, and it's almost like a psychological punch to make you remember watching the DVD of Top Gun. It's just, oh God, it's good. It's so good.
Wow. Well, that sounds amazing. And guys, do definitely check out Top Gun, and let us know what you thought of it after you check it out. Renz Tolentino is here with us. He says, "Good morning, everyone, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers around the world." Thank you, Renz, for stopping by here, guys. Renz is an artist, so do check him out on Instagram. He is a wonderful artist. And Dennis Mason has a confession to make. He says, "Those kids look nothing like me." Dennis, you certainly are putting a smile on my face right now. And Bloodsport One wants to know, what's the last movie that I saw in the theater? This is a good question. And the fact that I'm having difficulty even oh, I know what it was. I think it was Doctor Strange 2.
Mm.
Yeah, and that was in May. So it's been a while, Bloodsport One. So
How bad is
yeah.
this? I haven't even seen it. I haven't even seen it. That's terrible, isn't it? I'm just like, every time I go to think about, going to hire it or whatever, I'm just like, I don't want to watch that. Sorry.
Yeah. No. You trust me. It's and apparently Doctor Strange 2 is making a lot of money. They did very well at the box office internationally. So the studio is not unhappy with the bankroll on that. I guess maybe they thought they could have made more money, but it certainly isn't a flop.
All
So
good. If people are loving it, then people are loving it. I don't fancy it, and I think that's allowed if I don't fancy it. But yeah, if people are loving it, then great. I'm happy.
Well, Joker Voice says not just a plane; it's an F-18 Hornet. So he's referring to Maverick, obviously. And Holy Hand Grenade says he does the vast majority of his stunts. Dude is a legend. And Russ, do you remember when Tom Cruise started to do all his own stunts and people thought he was crazy?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it got to the stage where he couldn't get insured, so he's not. I don't think he's insured now. I don't know how he does it. He's got his own movie company, and he's the boss, and he can do whatever the hell he likes because he does put himself at risk, and I do think that is part of the appeal in a way. When you go to watch a Mission Impossible movie, or in this case the Top Gun movie, it's him. It's not a stunt man the vast majority of the time. It's Tom Cruise doing mad stuff, jumping from buildings. You famously broke his leg and carried on running on the one film, and the one where he was attached to the aircraft and the top of the train. I mean, the guy's the real deal. When he's the last great movie star, isn't he?
He is. He certainly is very unique person who loves making action films. Dennis Mason says the last theater film he saw was The Avengers. Now that's going what 2019
I
or
think no,
actually
before, I
before
think
that
2016
20.
maybe.
Wow,
I don't
wow,
know. Oh,
Dennis.
just the point on last great movie stars. I'm so sorry. And this being positive fandom, and we do sort of tend to focus here on the science fiction genre and action genre and all that sort of thing. However, I'm going to confess to having watched The Lost City with Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum, Brad Pitt, and Daniel Radcliffe. Wow, that film is a barrel of laughs. It is so funny. It's so entertaining. It's so warm. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It's just great fun, and all of them, every single actor in that film smashes it out of the park because they're not given. It's not a heavy movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a movie that, again, a bit like Maverick. It's relying on the charisma of its actors, and when you've got Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, and Brad Pitt, that's a metric shit ton of charisma, and it's a charming movie. And if you get to see it, it's a silly film. And it's supposed to be silly. It's ridiculous, and it's pretty much a rip-off of Romancing the Stone. It's just exactly the same story in a way, but you know what? Again, let it be the 1987 thing again. I really, really loved it. So just a little Russ recommends there.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. And guys, do check out Rez Tolentino's Instagram feed. Here we have that there. Sandra Bullock is an actress who the last film that I remember she made was Bird Box, and that was
Hmm.
a huge success
Hmm.
for Netflix. I think it was Netflix. She's shown that, for a woman who has been making movies for what, 30 years now,
I
she
think
can
so.
still bring it. She can still bring it, and she is not stopping. She looks amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she looks amazing. She certainly has, something special. And who doesn't love Brad Pitt? So just the lineup alone is enough to attract most viewers. And thank you for recommending that as well. Retro Nurko says, I've not seen Tom Cruise in a movie. He's never been in a movie in that had a poor script. At least within the last 20 years, he hits a home run every time. Yeah, he really does. And I think that that's very important when, not just for people's viewing pleasure, but also for your career. I mean, as an actor, um, you
I
would want to
think
make sure what you're in is a good script. And this is something that has been kind of the topic of conversation for a lot of people there. So let's
well,
see.
Retro Nail Girl makes a great point here. I think it, with Tom Cruise, as I say, or as people say, he has complete and absolute. He's like the emperor. He has complete and absolute control over absolutely everything that goes on, and everything he says goes, except when he's wrong. And he strikes me as a guy that has complete control. He is vehemently about quality control. He wants everything to be just so. but he's one man, and he strikes me as a man that wants everything to be so good. He will listen to someone like Macquarie or whoever, Chris Macquarie, you know, he's de facto director producer now on pretty much everything that he does. So he hasn't got to the sort of Elvis stage where everyone's just a yes man around him. And I think his drive for perfection, his drive for reality, the feel of real, you know, and his willingness to sort of hear other people's opinions and not just say,
Mhm.
no, I'm Tom Cruise, you have to do it my way, results in what Retro Nergo is saying here is just, you know, winner after winner after winner after winner after, you know, the man doesn't fail. And that's great.
Absolutely. And the person who sent me the super chat, as I said, was Stubble McShay from last week. Thank you, Stubble, for your generous super chat. The other gentleman, his last name is Simpkins Jr. 02, which is part of the person's email address. And I did send a thank you email, but I wanted to thank on the air. Thank you so much for your generous tip that you gave me last week. It's very kind of you, and it certainly does keep the channel going. I so appreciate it. And also, I think he sent me another one today for $4.20. So, yeah, I think he did. Thank you so much for your generosity again. I wasn't quite sure if that was your screen name, so I apologize. So I just said the last name. And, you know, you can't really find anybody by last name alone. So I just left it at that. But I wanted to thank you for your generosity again as well. He sent $4.20. Thank you so much for supporting Positive Fandom. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, do you like Funko Pops? Check out and follow my Instagram feed for some really cool Funko Pop pictures. There's a lot of people in the fandom who collect Funko Pops. Tom is a collector of Funko Pops, but he doesn't just collect them. He also takes pictures of them and puts them in certain scenarios. So I really love it. Guys, go ahead and check out his Instagram feed. And Bloodsport1 says, I still haven't seen Top Gun 2. My mom wants to see it also. Of course she does, Bloodsport1.
There is a scene in there that's reminiscent of the volleyball scene in the first one. And you know, you haven't seen it, Bloodsport hasn't seen it, his mum hasn't seen it, and yet it's still smashing it, right? It's nearly $1 billion now at this point, right? So, but the fact that we've got three people here who are big movie people, haven't seen it. I hope it gives it some legs. I hope it just carries on and carries on and carries on and says to the studios, hey, oh wow, what bit of chest thumping patriotism and not so much introspection and social commentary, that's making billions. Let's do some more of that. Because I think one of the things we're going to talk about, I'm not sure when we're going to talk about it, is the sort of the hypocrisy of Hollywood in some respects hit the chat shows recently. But you're driving this car. You're in box one. I'm in box two. I'm the navigator. You're the pilot. Do some of that piloting shit. In fact, that would be you, wouldn't it? That would be you wouldn't be Maverick. You'd be RM. God damn! Now I've got to think of a cool one. Damn.
My call sign, huh?
Yeah, your call sign. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Brake right. Brake right.
Your other right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Jared Snyder is with us.
Hey, Jared.
Hey, Jared. He says Cruise's management of his film. Yes. I think that we might see higher quality films if we see other people at the helm of management when it comes to these films. And Bloodsport1 says RRR is RRR movie of the year candidate. I'm not sure. I think it could be. The fact of the matter is that India makes some of the greatest films in the world, and they repeatedly make great films. Not only are they fantastic when it comes to action and storyline, but they're also fantastic when it comes to music and, different types of themes. In RRR, they deal with colonialism. They deal with so many things, their own cultures, stories, and different things that relate to that. their development of film is absolutely spectacular. And I think I read somewhere that Indian people have made more films than anyone else in the world. And it's not a surprise. The production value of what they're capable of doing and making you start to kind of like, you know, dance along and just enjoy everything. You do not have to speak the language. These
You know,
films convey the pleasure of what they're experiencing without you even understanding the words. So that's very difficult to find films that can do that, but they have done it to perfection.
I was going to
What do you
say I
think,
saw a
Russ?
documentary. Yeah, no, I saw a documentary about the cinema, and it was a very very snooty documentary, and it kind of assumed that you had to know what you were talking about before you went in to this documentary. And one of the comments that the guy made, he was talking about a Bollywood actor called Amitabh Bachchan, and he just sort of says it as an off the cuff comment and says, you know, who is the biggest movie star in the world? And it was a, you know, it's a real cinephile thing, and I didn't enjoy the documentary at all because it was way too snooty for me. And that comment was very eye rolling because, like, you know, probably not many people. I'm going to guess or assume that many people on the chat haven't heard of Amitabh Bachchan, and you know, but technically he is the biggest movie star in the world per capita and all that sort of thing because he's a Bollywood star. So you're absolutely right. They do. The proliferation of their movies and their audience is gigantic. It's just we don't see a lot of it over in the West, you know. But yeah, some of those films are really good. I watched one um, called Mary Con recently, which is about a female boxer, and it was really good. And it didn't have a dance number in it, you know. So not every single Bollywood movie has a has a dance number.
Absolutely. Joker Voice says, Doctor Strange 2 could barely break even because the movie has been a disappointment. Disney needed to hit $1 billion. Wow. And it didn't. Wow. Just to break even, guys. Wow. How could this movie cost that much just to break even? Gee, that's surprising. Wow. Rogue Thinker says practical effects will always look better when they work.
Well, this is
Agreed.
true.
And Joker Voice says the first Avengers film was in 2012. 2012 was a great year, guys. And Mario Lopez says Tom Cruise also piloted the two WWs P-51 Mustang. Wow. Yeah, that's insane. Sorry.
Mhm.
It scares me so much. I love him, but I hope he stays safe. There, I
Yeah, I'm
said it.
remaining. So I know what he's referring to there, but I'm not going to say anything because you haven't seen it, and you just got to see it, or you just got to go.
Yes, and Mikey Ludo says they're close enough, 950 million, and it's still in theaters.
Hmm.
And also, as we keep going, everybody is actually talking about about the Lost City and how much they liked it, Russ. Also, we have Cavantino Cavalryman Che. Hello to you. So glad you're here. He says, from what I've heard about Top Gun Maverick, we'll appreciate that beach football scene was shot more than once, and it has a funny behind the scenes story. And you know, I love the beach. I love Tom Cruise. And you know, I'm going to love this scene, Russ. I see you smiling a little bit. It's like a little bit of a grin.
Yeah, yeah, you will. You will.
I'm looking forward to this, guys. And what else was I going to say here? Lorena Creole, someone mentioned the watch party that I had with Lorena Creole last night. Here is the link for it when we did our Avatar watch party last night. So Joker Voice says it's the reshoots that pushed it over the limit. 85% of the entire movie. Wow, that is not good at all. You know, that's practically like refilming the whole film. It is too bad. But I also wanted to talk about another show, and we did talk about it briefly I think we did talk about Stranger Things last week, but Stranger Things is still making an impression, guys. Everybody is eagerly awaiting the July 1st ending of Stranger Things. I love how they broke it up. And people are still watching it. I think it is officially now Netflix's #1 viewed show.
Whatever.
Yeah. And
Wow.
yeah, I believe it is, guys. Let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure it is. Stranger Things really is, I think, changed the way that and lived up to what we expect as viewers. It's not a perfect show, but even when it's not perfect, it's at least written decently enough that it makes sense. For example, there's a particular arc where one of the characters goes to Alaska, and and honestly, and Russ, you're familiar with what I'm referring to, yes? During that arc, it was all right, but what I noticed is that they were very careful to kind of write a decent script, and you're listening to it, and none of it is garbage. You know, it may not be my
Right.
favorite part of the story, but it's still in there, and they took care with it. And you know, they did a good job of kind of separating the groups with the, let's say, the parents, the older kids, and then the very, very younger ones are kind of
Mm.
separated in this film in a very unique way. So I think that that was also very good, and perhaps you know, more realistic of how groups and kids hung out in the 80s. You know, I have to say that's fantastic. But everybody is raving about the Eddie character. And of course, as you guys know, for those of you who've watched Stranger Things, this Eddie character is sort of like he's the game master. Is it called the game?
Yeah, Dungeon
Dungeon
Master. He's
Master.
the Dungeon Master,
Dungeon
or the
Master.
Game Master if you're not playing Dungeons and Dragons. But yes.
Yes, he is the dungeon master, which means he runs the game when you're playing D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, for the Hellfire Club. They've got this Dungeons and Dragons group called the Hellfire Club, and it looks so cool. There are a bunch of cool kids, and we have I Am Legend 0000 season. Hello, I Am Legend 0000. Season 4 Stranger Things is very well written. There's a scene with character Max running for her life with "Running up that hill, I'll be running up that road." Which I love. Kate. Oh, so I mean, there's so much in this. Kate Bush. Russ, is Kate Bush British?
Yes, absolutely. She's
Okay, I
English.
didn't
Yeah.
know that. I mean, I've listened to that song forever. I didn't know she was British. It turns out that that song is #1 in the UK right now, Russ.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
She's broken some kind of record for having, like the return to #1 after the longest time or something like that. I remember.
yeah, I think it's 35 years, Russ. Kate Bush's song, Running Up That Hill, has become the #1 song in the UK after 35 years. And it says very clearly, well, I'm reading it,
Mm.
obviously. I didn't memorize this. Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill sets 3 chart records and hits UK #1. She has now broken 3 UK chart records by hitting #1. It's #4 in the US on the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart. In the UK, she is the oldest woman to top the singles chart, and her
Awesome.
achievement of doing so after 37 years is the longest time a song has taken to get to #1. It beats Wham, whose Last Christmas did it in January 2021. The song is also marked as the longest gap between #1 singles, with 44 years elapsed since her debut, Wuthering Heights. Running Up That Hill originally reached #3 when it was released. And among the stranger things to come from last month's Netflix premiere, Kate Bush's 85 song Running Up That Hill is featured in the new season. The revitalized track returned to the Billboard Top 100, where it peaked at #30 37 years ago. So guys, that song, you know, it actually, you know, it's so funny. I remember the song when it came out. Sadly, I was in high school, and I remember how cool it was. Hey, Lorena Creole is
Oh, there
here
she
with
is. Hello,
us
lovely.
this morning. Hello, Lorena Creole. I hope you are well, Lorena. Um, and she says, be sure to hit that like button and share the stream. Yes, everybody, please hit the like button, share the stream, and subscribe to my
Just gonna
channel. And
say yes. Please do. I'm just gonna say while Lorraine is here, I will be gasping and listening to Lorania and tomorrow morning, getting all sweaty listening to your recent review of a controversial movie, because I'm going to go running. and it's on my running playlist. So that's how I'm going to be gasping and sweating listening to you both.
Well, Russ is referring to the review that Lorena and I did on my channel of I Am a Woman, which is a documentary by Matt Walsh. So, guys, please do check that out as well. And thank you, Lorena, for stopping by. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Guys, like and subscribe Lorena Creole's channel as well. And please make sure you check out all the wonderful videos she has. Lorena has so much on her channel.
Hmm.
You will love it. So please do check that out. And it's very interesting, talking about all of these. And Lorraine just says, "Oh my," to you, Russ. It is very interesting talking about this music from Kate Bush. And essentially, what people may or may not be aware of is that she was an alternative music star.
Mm.
So there was let's say the dance 100 or the pop 100, and then there was a different chart called alternative music. And there were a bunch of us, myself included, who listened to both. But that alternative group, the music was very different type of expression in their music. And, MTV had a show called 120 Minutes, which is actually 2 hours, where they would have an alternative section. And she's considered to be the queen of, or at least at that time, the queen of alternative music. That song, Running Up That Hill, was played more times, I think, not just on alternative radio stations, but on other regular radio stations as well. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, she was really quite weird. And I remember her, obviously because I'm similar age to yourself, but she's she just took time out. Like she just got fed up with the whole music industry and what was being asked of her, and having to, when the machine got behind her and she started to become really successful, she was like, no, this is not what I'm doing this for. And she's quite reclusive as far as I know. Now, of course, there will be if there's one in the chat, will know more than me. But I think she's quite a recluse. Very very hard to get an interview with Kate Bush. But as a musician, she was the same but different every time. Like, if you take Wuthering Heights, which was her first song that she came out with, or Babushka. All right, so you go from Wuthering Heights to Babushka to Running Up That Hill. They're entirely different songs in every single way. Yet they're still Kate Bush. Even something like Army Dreamers, which I really love that song. I don't know why, because it's a jerky little song, but I really really like that one. Um, yeah, anyone thinking of getting Kate Bush, just get Kate Bush the whole story. It's like a compilation album from the 80s, and that's got a load of good stuff. And there's the Red Shoes as well. But yes, you're absolutely right. Very very there it is. Mario's going to buy it soon. Yeah, get that one, and if you're going to get the album, the whole story is a good starting point for Kate Bush. But yes, very alternative, very good, very attractive, very talented, very brilliant. Yeah, love her. And I think that's what Stranger Things has done very, very well this season, that it didn't do so much in the last season, which I think we could all agree was not great. I didn't have high hopes for season 4, and somebody in the chat here said that this season will change my mind, and they're absolutely right. It does. And when I think about it, um, I think what season 3 did was just rely on its nostalgia, and just thought that was just going to power it through. And if we just play a bit of Motley Crue, we'll be A for away. And it just didn't land. And I think what they've done with this one is that they've looked at the mistakes of the previous season and rectified them and improved them, and adjusted it a bit. Like, I think famously it was Sonic the Hedgehog, wasn't it? They released a clip of Sonic and the fans went crazy, and they said, "Fine, we'll pause the movie. Is this more like what you want?" And the fans went mad, and it made billions of dollars. And I think in terms of storytelling, um, that they've got that absolutely right. And we were talking about Eddie, and I think what I what I liked about the characters in this. The way that they've characterized the nerds and the geeks and all the rest of it, um, they've nailed it because they lived it. Yeah, I was that guy, right? Literally, I had the long hair and I played the Dungeons and Dragons and all the rest of it. And there was that thing at the time, and people just won't believe it now. But there was a movement to ban heavy metal. There was a movement to ban Dungeons and Dragons. And then we were talking about this last week, weren't we? And then they couldn't ban it because for whatever reason they couldn't ban it, so they had to slap warning labels on all of the records, which of course made them instantly more attractive to
Number
teenagers.
ones.
Yeah, number ones. But man, that didn't have
Parental
any.
advisory. I'm sorry, that's what it was called.
That's right. But that had no impact on me. I loved it before and after. So I'm kind of with retro nerd girl, on that. I still listen to 80s metal today. And actually, funnily enough, there's a heavy metal group who I think are fairly recent, but they've been going for 20 years now. There's a group called Steel Panther, um, which is obviously a really silly name. And all these guys are fucking fantastic musicians. The musicianship of Steel Panther is, for heavy metal, yeah, it's just brilliant. They're all master technicians, but they're all kind of failed musicians. Like they in the 80s, they were all sort of trying to make it, and they never, as far as to my knowledge, they never really made it. They were professionals, but not Motley Crue level or Saxon or Iron Maiden or whatever. But then they formed Steel Panther, which is an 80s parody band, and they've smashed it. They actually played Donington last week, and they're hugely, hugely successful, sending up the era from whence they came. So yeah, I do love. My favorite one by them is actually called "Death to All But Metal," and bizarrely, my daughter's favorite one is "Glory Hole," and that's kind of the level.
Well,
Yeah,
good for her.
yeah, right. She was quite young when it. Yeah, so, but yeah, I don't know what that says about my parenting skills, but whatever. But yeah, so Steel Panther, Eddie's brilliant, and I'm quite glad that they didn't do what they did sort of last time and have the sort of heavy metal bad boy, if you like, be as overtly wrong as Billy was in the first one. I was a nice guy. I played Dungeons and Dragons, but yeah, I had long hair and a leather jacket, and so did all my friends. But yeah, so we're not all evil, and I love the way that Stranger Things addresses things that were in the social zeitgeist at the time. Um, and yeah, so it's strange, isn't it, Aaron? We spend a lot of time on positive fandom grouching about things, but I do feel that, Stranger Things, The Lost City, Top Gun, really have put a little bit of a pep back into things. Yeah, it's really, really good. I'm happy to be sitting here um, before we inevitably speak about Kenobi, to be really happy about stuff and really, really positive. And, you know, a little while ago, I decided that I wasn't going to do any more writing. I was just I just wasn't feeling it. But when I was talking about Top Gun and everything like that, having a rocky effect, it certainly inspired me to think, do you know what? I've got an idea, and I think I'm going to run with it. So I'm kind of I broke my own vow. I think I'm going to get back to the keyboard, perhaps later on today.
Wow. Well, I love hearing things like this. That is wonderful news. And it's always great to hear how creators are inspired by other
Mm,
work. And I always feel that that's really important. That sometimes when you create something and it has an impact on others to continue to create, it's like that you're passing the torch as a creator to another creator to go on with their work, to be inspired, to go ahead and continue with their creation process. And I think that that's so important. Why we need to keep watching what's out there, but also to take inspiration from other work. I mean, it's actually something that shows what is being created in front of us is important and has an effect on everybody in more ways than one guy. So those of you who are creators out there, keep going with your work. Someone's
mm,
going to listen to your work, someone's going to see it, and it will spur a little spark. It will light a little spark, and the next thing you know, that creative process that you had, that you generated, is going to go and generate the same effect in someone else. So creation is more than just about someone seeing your work. A lot of times the creation is about passing the torch from one creator to another. So I'm very excited to hear that, Russ. I'm very happy to see that you have been inspired by that. It puts a smile on my face.
thank you, Aaron.
And hello to KEK44, who says hello, Lorena, and hello to you, KEK44. Thank you for being here today. I am Legend 0000 says very informative. Yeah, I love the lyrics of that song. He's talking about Kate Bush. Only if we could change places would we understand each other's perspectives. And I also think that the song, and like many alternative songs at the time, Russ, dealt with mental health at a time when it was not popular to talk about mental health or struggles. No one wanted to talk about that stuff, especially even in the public health community. And to bring that up in a song, and for example, I think also The Cure did that a lot,
Mm,
talking about feelings and very specific things that were frowned upon as not being popular. In fact, the only person I remember who talked about mental health in the 80s was Carrie Fisher, who confessed to having mental health issues.
yep.
And she wrote a book about it. And that was kind of unheard at the time. You know, you were looked at someone who had problems, and no one wanted to talk to you about that if you did have mental health issues. And so I think it took that amount of time, let's say, even up until about 10 years ago, for that to be something that was considered important enough to be addressed. But I always interpreted Running Up That Hill as a song that had to do with also with mental health, because of her wanting to trade places with the person to help them. Um, now,
I
the other
think
thing I was
you're right. I just wanted to say on that,
yeah,
there were so many things, yeah, with mental health, depression, and things like that. Back in the 80s, you were just told to put your, put your big boy pants on. What the fuck's the matter with you? You'll get over it. Depression was just seen as something that you should be able to get over, and actually you were perceived as weak if you had those problems. And I think we often look back at the 1980s um, with a sense of postmodernist. Yes, yes, we all knew, and I must have said this on this channel before, but just we had no idea Elton John was gay. We had no idea that George Michael was gay. We just didn't know. The first people to actually sort of do something really, really overtly gay, in as far as I remember. And, they won't be the first, but the one that really struck me was Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and they had this video where they were in a club, and they were all holding things with all white stuff spraying out at the end, and all these muscly blokes dancing around and all that kind of stuff. Of course, it was literally banned instantly, and then instantly went to number one. But I don't even think they came out as they didn't make the statement, even though they clearly were. So yeah, a lot of things were brilliant back then. But also we have made some progress in those areas now, where people, being homosexual is, of course, entirely acceptable. People are much more comfortable with mental health issues. So yeah, and I think to some degree, and I can't speak for everybody, but I will say, and this would include myself, have suffered with mental health issues. In I certainly have in my life, and do speak out. No one's gonna no one's gonna think anything less of you. It's not the 1980s anymore. And I think it's really, really important to reinforce that message. If you've got a problem, there's always help.
absolutely, guys. And Joker Voice says he's going to go and record his Arcane video now. Have a great weekend, folks. Please subscribe. Hashtag keep talking. Yes, guys, go check out Joker Voice's Arcane video when it comes out, and his channel. Subscribe to this channel.
Mm.
And, certainly do check out Joker Voice's Arcane video. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Just a Brown Girl's here. Hi, Just
Yeah,
a Brown
hello.
Girl. How are you? I hope you are well. She says, first found Kate Bush with Don't Give Up, that duet with Peter
I
Gabriel.
love that song.
Yes.
I love that. We grow on strong
Yes.
in this cold island. Oh, it's so good. I'm gonna have to go and listen to it now, right? Just a note on that though. For anybody that's new to the channel, or doesn't follow this stuff, Just a Brown Girl is a film producer, director, does some amazing work. Tom Junior Jackson, I am sure, is working on it right now to post up her details or IMDb in the chat. Please, 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 as someone that's trying to get a film off the ground myself, the support of people for independent film cannot be overstated, excuse me. And people like Just a Brown Girl that are going out there, and they found the money, they found finding the money is so hard. Believe me, it's hard. And when you see so much shit getting made. Sometimes you want to smash your head against the brick wall, going, "Oh my god, she's done it! She's cracked it! She's a film producer, director, writer. Get out there and support her stuff, please, please do, because every single independent film, Rob Burnett with his what's the name of the movie? It's gone out of
Tango
my
Shalom.
Tango Shalom. We all need your help. Scott Adkins is really, really famous, and you know how much I love Scott Adkins. I want to be Scott Adkins when I grow up. And he releases these, sort of, I guess you would call them B movies, action movies. I don't think they're B movies; they're A class. Like, they deliver exactly what I want. But he is a big advocate of this. Do not pirate this stuff. You're going to pirate something, pirate, dare I say, even though, God, I hate to say it, pirate Maverick, pirate Doctor Strange 3. They don't care. But when you're pirating Just a Brown Girl's film, or you're pirating Robert's film, or you're pirating a Scott Adkins movie, you are taking their ability away to create. And if we do that to artists like Just a Brown Girl, and I would say even Scott Adkins, who I love, and Robert, all the rest of it, then they can't do what they love to do. More importantly, what you love to watch. Because Just a Brown Girl is part of the next generation of filmmakers. Who knows? In 10 years, she could be directing, the reboot of Star Wars. We just don't know. But you'll never be able to do it unless we get behind her. And that's me off my
Absolutely.
bloody soapbox. I'm so sorry.
Absolutely, guys. Please support Just a Brown Girl here on YouTube and her independent films. She is a wonderful creator and producer. So please do check out her work. We need to support independent films. And as Russ said, it certainly does provide another area for artistic expression, and oftentimes spurs the careers of many of the directors that we know who are famous in Hollywood today. So please do check her out, guys. Just a Brown Girl. Retro Nerd Girl says, yes, Carrie wrote Postcards from the Edge, which was made into a movie. That's right. Was it Meryl Streep who played the mother? And or the daughter. I can't remember who was in the film, but it was a great film. Postcards from the Edge about Carrie and her mother, and these two ladies were tight. Carrie and her mother were incredibly tight, and unfortunately, they both passed away within a day or two of one another. But it certainly was a very interesting story, and yeah. So do check out Postcards from the Edge if you guys have a chance to do that. Retro Nerd Girl also says, Joker voice, have fun. Looking forward to seeing your video. Just a Brown Girl mentions, did you know the Pet Shop Boys didn't know that the Pet Shop Boys were gay? Yes.
No, we didn't know about it. Nobody spoke about it. It was a huge shock when Rock Hudson, caught that terrible disease. And it's one of the things that always really makes me laugh, listening to sort of young people going, oh yeah, everybody knew. No, no,
No,
no, they didn't.
everybody
No,
didn't know.
everybody didn't know.
And Stubble McShave, hi Stubble, and thank you for the generous. I said this earlier. I wasn't sure if you were on the stream, but I did thank you for your generous stream elements tip. Stubble McShave says, did you make the town unsafe yesterday night with your EDM club visits?
Oh boy.
Well, I didn't. I did walk around town and found myself running into a place where it wasn't so windy. We had these gale force winds last night. It was ridiculous. I couldn't even go to the beach, which I always do in the summer. I like to walk out onto the boardwalk and just walk on the beach in the water, but it was impossible last night. The wind blows the sand around and it's like sandpaper. But thank you for asking. And it's always good to see you, Stubble. I hope you are well this morning.
Sorry, he just Stubble also says up there, he said, I would say don't pirate anything if you've got the legal way of consuming it. I would agree. I agree completely. What I did qualify that, Stubble, just to address it. I say, if you are going to pirate something, then go after something, bigger, because independent film needs your help. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's always better to do it legally, and the experience is always better legally. And go to the cinema and watching Maverick is so much better than downloading it off of wherever people download, because I actually don't know where they download these things from, but Pirate Bay, I think it is. You know, watching something that somebody taped on their iPhone. I mean, that's not the film that as it was meant to be.
Absolutely. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, check out and subscribe to Just a Brown Girls Network on the YouTube channel. So definitely do that. And Mikey Lito makes a point of saying that Just a Brown Girls Network's film, Better Half, is available on YouTube for $9.99. He says, I bought it and I thought it was great. I'm angling for an introduction to a cast member.
Mikey Lito's got the scoop.
He does. He does. So, guys, please check out Just a Brown Girl, our independent film person right here, here on Positive Fandom and in the PGS and in our fandom community. So please support her work. And so, you know, something, Russ, you know, we remember the 80s. It was a very special time for music. And clearly, the music has quite a significant resonance even today. The hits recharting, you know, the fandom kind of not just, you know, reliving these great moments, but also realizing how important a lot of these activities we did are important in the cultural zeitgeist even today. And we talked about the Eddie character. We talked about how he has this Hellfire group, and the look of a lot of young adults, teenagers and young adults at that time was pretty universal. And you sent me something that was very special, Russ. And I do have to just take a second out from what we're talking about.
Okay.
And just take a minute and share something that you sent me. Let me just see if I can do this correctly. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Is it showing on the screen?
It is not, unfortunately. Oh yes, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that's me in 1987.
Okay,
I'm the one. I'm the one in the white T-shirt, and the other guy is a guy called Jamie. And yeah, I'm reminiscent of Eddie, man. Look at my hair. My God, look at my hair. Yeah, but Jamie and I, right? Jamie was the dungeon master. We used to play Dungeons and Dragons. So there you go. Proof in the pudding. Stranger Things has nailed it. Heavy Metal Kids played D&D. My
So,
God, I was
guys,
so young.
that is actually Russ, as he mentioned in the photograph. You know, as a teenager, young adult, and he's virtually indistinguishable from this Eddie character. It really did happen, guys. I remember so many young men from that time who looked just like this Eddie character, and he really does just seem like someone from right out of the time period.
I don't even remember
And
what
you know,
that T-shirt is. That's that was a Saxon Rock the Nations T-shirt. It was a tour T-shirt, and I haven't wet myself. It was a part of my gang that I was in. We all had a little bit of a what was it? Dude looks like a lady. What were they called? Aerosmith. So we all used to hang like little scarves off the end of our zips on our leather jacket, and that's what that thing is going down there, and the obligatory sweatband as you can see. But Jamie was much more into thrash. I preferred like you know proper metal, Iron Maiden, Saxon, Wasp, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we thought it'd
sure.
be funny to show me as I was with my hair back in the day, looking like Eddie.
That is something else. I just love that, guys. Someone says Russ John Bon Jovi.
Thank you so much, Darth Plater. That was the look I was going for. I didn't like his music so much, but I did like his hair.
And Dennis Mason says, dudes.
Looking like the lady, right?
I think it's great. He also says dead white zombies. Yeah. This really is kind of fun to see that type of head rocker. Russ Bloodsport 1 says head rocker. And it is fun to look at this stuff. It really was our reality. Retro Nerd Girl says, cool. Yes, absolutely. I think that is a perfect description of what we are seeing there. And it is something to think about. I think that, you know, when we go back and look at those times, they were really very special, Russ. I think that it's something that might be missing now. The billboards are not what they used to be. The music scene isn't what it used to be. The creativity of the music scene isn't what it used to be. I'm hoping that this series, Stranger Things, will revitalize some of these fun things that we had that we took for granted at that time, right, Russ?
Yeah, we absolutely took it for granted, right? That I think that's the point. That these things, metal, punk, whatever you were into, there, of course, there was the mainstream pop music, Rick Astley and all of that stuff, and Bananarama and whatever things. But there are also things like Gary Newman and Toya and Adam and the Ants and all that sort of stuff, which kind of crossed over into the mainstream. But they were punk rockers, starting out originally. Now, I'm here to tell you that that stuff is still going on, because I don't quite know how my daughter got into heavy metal. I have no influence or clue on that. He lied, but she's well into it. But she likes different stuff to what I like, obviously. And we were talking about this very thing, um, and she said, "You know what? There is still gothic music out there. And there is still emo stuff out there. People call it emo, but there is proper goth out there you can get today. There is proper metal out there today. You just have to look for it because it's not really getting covered anywhere." Mikey Leo's into disco. I don't know if there's an underground disco movement, or a modern disco movement. I
I
couldn't,
think
I
in
couldn't tell you.
Italy, disco is always popular, from what I understand. Maybe.
Yeah, Dave Mustaine's a legend.
I love
He's
Megadeth. I love Dave Mustaine. I just had to put that out there.
Well, yeah, he's lived a life, man. I mean, he was not, like he's very, very rock and roll. He's like he's an archetypal sort of rock and roll story, isn't he? But he wasn't a nice guy. I mean, let's face it, and he had all sorts of mental health troubles as well, and addiction troubles, and all the rest of it. But I watched a documentary on him with him, an interview with him recently, like an hour long thing. Yeah, we are Drew. We're talking full on metal at the moment, and he is literally. The sad and wiser man when he looks back on his life, and he talks about things that he did and mistakes that he made and what he shouldn't have done. But yeah, so this stuff is still out there for younger people, but like many things, it's just not hasn't got the exposure that it should. But there were still 90,000 people at Donington, or download as they call it, over last weekend. So metal will never die, as Man of War has often told us. So there we go.
And I think that there are some kids out there who do dress like this. I know that there are some very unusual and interesting cultural movements in Asia of kids who kind of emulate this look,
Hmm.
or emulate many of the looks from the 80s, and kind of hold on to that look as a form of expression. And I think that that is something that is wonderful as well. And Drew Gordon, I know you just popped in, or popped in a few minutes ago. Very glad to have you here, Drew Gordon. Um, and also, um, Tom Jr. Jackson says, check out Russ's website.
Oh, it's
Contact
very
and
out of
follow.
date, but thank you, Tom.
Absolutely, guys. You can get in contact with Russ on his website here in the description, as well here in the chat. So please do check it out. Also, Retro Nerd Girl says, I want to see the cool concert ABBA was going around. I haven't heard about that, Retro Nerd Girl. Please tell us more about that. There's so many cool things. And it was really kind of, Russ, also enough room for multiple types of music at the time. There wasn't always just one music that dominated the scene all the time in the 80s. And
No, absolutely. I mean, you had let's take Depeche Mode. They went from a sort of like teeny bopper synth band with Vince Clarke, and they wrote some really, really great stuff. And he went off to do this similar thing with Yazoo, and then eventually Erasure. And then Depeche Mode, once Martin Gore really took over songwriting duties in Depeche Mode. Shame, and of course Andy Fletcher died recently from Depeche Mode. But their music entirely changed. So you had that, and then you also had Gary Newman, who was reliant on synths that was entirely different to Depeche Mode in every single way. Gary Newman was brilliant, and in his later career, he became very, very metal, in fact. Toya, I was a huge Toya fan. I absolutely loved her, and she went through so many different phases. Like from the late 70s through to the to the late 80s, early 90s, and she's still going today as Toya. But different styles, different, and even in the metal community, you had people like me that were Iron Maiden, Saxon, Judas Priest. You had people like Jamie that were all about Metallica, Venom, and Slayer. Anthrax was another big one, and then you had more mainstream stuff like Europe and Bon Jovi, and then you had the hair metal lot, like Winger and Warrant. She's My Cherry Pie, Poison, Motley Crue were a bit more grungy, and then you had the glam rockers. And you had all these different factions within metal itself. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, and I'm sure it would. I'd also liked gothic music, and you had Sins of Mercy, Mission, Fields of the Nephilim. Yeah, but we're not here to talk about my musical tastes, are we not? What are we going on to next,
Well,
Arum?
before we go on, I did want to mention Tom Jr. Jackson says, "Welcome to Positive Fandom's Morning
More,
Metal." I really like that Tom Jr. Jackson. I remember she's my cherry
cherry
pie.
pie. Yeah,
She's my cherry pie. I love that song. It was just a lot of fun things like that. So, it's interesting kind of looking at that and some of that history, and we do get a little bit of that. And Drew Gordon talks about the noise rock in the 90s, resurgence since lots of great old new thrash bands, unlike Metallica, Anthrax, Metallica went into the 90s. Well, Metallica has never stopped. And Metallica came out with an album, I think it was last year, where they decided, first of all, they did something that I've never seen before. The number of tracks on their new album was just unbelievable. But they also decided to work with other artists. And I think that that's one of the keys to keeping, your work relevant and fresh is, collaborating with other artists. But it is nice to kind of look back at this time and look back at the culture. And the culture that we lived, Russ, our reality did influence so many things, and it influenced Stranger Things, obviously. At least as far as I'm concerned, I feel like it influenced that. So
it did. It totally did. But I think that my point about showing the comedy picture of Russ in the 80s and bringing it back around to Eddie the Dungeon Master, they nailed it. They got it right. Because that I saw myself represented on screen.
yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
It's just like, it's obviously that they lived it. They lived it, and that they were there, and they didn't rely on it. They just took certain elements of it, like the high school jock and all that stuff, and the heavy metal guy and how he hates the heavy metal guy. Yeah, it's just really, really good.
Well, Six Scale Mafia is here with us today. Hello, Six Scale Mafia. Guys, do check out Six Scale Mafia's YouTube channel for all the hot 1/6 scale figure and just in general collector news. Check out Six Scale Mafia. Anthony says, wow, looks like you were just showing pics of me from back in the day, LOL. And guys, when you go to Six Scale Mafia's channel, you're going to notice, I think he's wearing a Megadeth shirt on his banner, or at least on part of it. So yes, Six Scale Mafia, certainly we were talking about how great it was to see characters like Eddie represented in Stranger Things, because we know how popular metal was back then and how many kids dressed just like Eddie. It was a lot of them. A good portion of my neighborhood were dressed like that. And it was fantastic. It was a great time, Anthony from Six Scale Mafia. Guys, please do check out his channel. And Anthony says, oh, thank you. Oh, yes, metal all my life. Absolutely, guys.
Never dies, man. Never dies.
That's right. And Rogue Thinker says, some good times playing D&D in basements on the weekend in high school. Absolutely. And Anthony goes on to say, yeah, I loved him in season 4. And, he really is, I think, the breakout character of the series. Not only are we seeing how fun of a character he is, but we're also seeing a different side of Eddie. He's trying to graduate, and he's a bit of a charmer, he's charismatic. This guy is a lot of fun, but he's being singled out, isn't he? And I think it's a metaphor, or you know, some kind of metaphor for how many heavy metal kids were treated at the time. You know, people didn't necessarily like to see the youth dressed like this. So, along with how cool it looked, there was kind of like a stigma towards it. And I think that they show that in the story where they're like, oh, you know, he got the devil to possess him or something.
That's right.
And it was
That's
completely not true. He has nothing to do with any of the stuff going on. But, you know, as he reads that Newsweek article in the first episode, or maybe it's the second episode,
mm,
I think it's interesting that they chose to focus on that, because I do remember seeing, you know, news reports on the news, and everybody watched the news back then. Everybody tuned into whatever network news it was. They had all these reports about how dangerous metal was and how it's, you know, hurting children and all this sort of stuff. So,
backwards messages were encouraging people to commit crimes and commit suicide and all that sort of area. Didn't Judas Priest had to go to court? Ozzy Osbourne certainly had to go to court after some guy um, tried to kill himself with a shotgun after listening to Suicide Solution. And of course, Suicide Solution wasn't about, yeah, it wasn't encouraging people. It, you know, it was just the opposite, in fact. And it, you know, when you look back at it now, um, it's just so ridiculous, you know. But of course, back then it was not. In the same way we were talking about how, you know, how things different were different in the 80s. It wasn't ridiculous to people back then. You know, it was a clear and present danger. What are these people, devil worshippers? You know, I remember, you know, when I saw that The Exorcist was based on a true story, I believed it. I really believed that this had gone on, though. You know, oh, D. Snyder, what a legend, man.
mhm.
But yeah, so absolutely.
So, guys, please check out and subscribe to Six Scale Mafia's YouTube channel for all your collector news. Anthony does some incredible interviews on his channel, letting you know what's going on in the Six Scale community, and also some other things too. He covers some other things as well. So do check it out, guys. It's fantastic. Darth Plato, you're making me feel really nostalgic. Metal crowd, the jocks, the beach dudes, the Michael Jackson crowd, break dancers, nerds, buzz cuts, preppy, rapper look, Latinos. School in the 80s had it all. It really did. And Dennis Mason says, I was in Katie Siegel's high school class. Wow. Do I have stories? Well, Dennis Mason, I'm sure we could all kind of find out more about that. You certainly do have a lot of interesting things to say about Katie Siegel, guys. So you know something? Oh, good for you, Six Scale Mafia. My first concert was Metallica in 1989, and 1989 was such a great year.
Hmm.
Um, it's so much fun to talk about this. And I think that we're going to see more people being influenced by Stranger Things. As I said last week, they managed to bring back, or at least successfully bring back, 80s horror. And, you know, it's
Mm.
not always easy to do that. It's not always easy to go to a series and bring it back in a way that is believable and scary. You know, I think that when you guys watch this, for those of you who have not watched it, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And we have the series, at least season 4, which I believe is actually the series finale, coming up in July 1st. So that's something to look forward to just a few weeks from now. I'm so
Hmm.
glad they separated it. It's something to look forward to on July 4th
Do you think
holiday.
our this might be a little bit of a wake up call from Netflix? Um, because I believe that there is a growing cadre of people now that will just sign up for Stranger Things and then unsub, who will just sign up, binge karate, what's it called, Cobra Kai, binge Cobra Kai over the weekend and unsign. And now they might have been able to. Netflix is almost like a gym membership, isn't it? You know, like people sort of get it in January and then they go to the gym and then they don't go for the rest of the year. But sort of Netflix has been relying on that. But with so many competitors in the market now that are releasing their stuff week by week by week by week, it almost like we've returned to the network television model. Only that if you missed it, you can go back and watch it, which we couldn't do back in the day. And maybe this is the start of that for Netflix. I don't know, um, but it would seem to be a smart decision to tease it out a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a change. And I also think that they have no choice but to go back to advertising because they've lost too much money. And the
Mm,
advertisers have tons and tons of money. And
true.
it's really funny because what used to happen before is that these networks used to fight over these advertisers' money. It was a
Hmm.
big deal. They wanted that cash. And kind of like steering away from that, I'm not saying it was a mistake, but I think that what would have been good would be to have an option with advertisements and without advertisements, kind of like what many streaming platforms have. YouTube has that, where if you subscribe to YouTube and you pay money, you won't see advertisements.
Well, yeah, but
So
our I would not disagree with you. I would never disagree with you because I'm too polite. No, no, we do disagree often, but I think the thing the day with YouTube, I was pretty anti uh, paying for YouTube, to be honest with you. But in the end, it defeated me because the adverts were there were just so many. It was like between me going, it was like here's an advert, and now I'll say my next bit, and here's another advert, and it wasn't even like you could. I thought like you know what if I just sit through a couple it'll let me skip them it'll no absolutely not it almost became yeah I was defeated I can't I watched streams I watched let's say the drinker or midnight's edge when I do an editorial about something and you're trying to watch it and you're running or you're in the gym or whatever it is you're doing and it's less of the drinker or midnight's edge it's more just I don't know whatever stuff they were pushing on. So I had to stop. So yeah, I wonder or would hope if Netflix went down a commercial, not commercial model, they would. But mind you, I'm here in the States at the moment. You do have a lot of commercials. I mean, you really do have a lot. So yeah, but it's smart play. Yes, they should consider that.
well, I've been watching PBS, this public broadcasting
Mm,
station, which would purchase, let's say, um, television shows, television programming from international stations where advertising was not as prolific, but it was with the expectation that if you were watching this public broadcasting station, that you were a member and you also supported them financially. So there was an expectation of that. And that, started in the I don't know how old PBS is, probably started in the 1960s here in the US.
mhm.
So people have been giving money, not that many, but people have been subscribing to these stations that practice that, where they have advertising model, but it's a different type of advertising model. All the advertisements are shown at the beginning or at the end of the program. And therefore, it doesn't disrupt the flow of what you're watching. Can you imagine how different Stranger Things would be if we had commercials through all of Stranger Things? Just think about that. It
Yeah.
would really destroy the tone of Stranger Things. In
Yes.
fact, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to go from non-advertising model to an advertising model. I also think certain shows are fine with advertisements. For example, certain reality shows seem to
Hmm.
be okay, to have an advertisement. At the dramatic point, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Commercial for, dishwashing liquid, commercial for broom. Then they go back. What's going to happen? And then they're like,
Yeah.
or 90 Day Fiance. It's like, it was a mistake coming here. And then,
Yeah.
commercial, and then they come back and they're like, all right, I'm going to stay, and then it's
Yeah.
like those are okay to have commercials, but some of these things like Stranger Things or even some of the science fiction shows, they have you connected with the story and you break that connection. You kind of need to keep the connection because it does, in my opinion, require more mental energy to keep up with it. So, yeah, so it's debatable and it's something to think about.
Hey,
Luminara
Luminara.
843 is here with us. Hello, Luminara 843. It's so great to see you this morning. Luminara 843 is a collector of 1/6 scale figures as well. She also does flex. That means she poses her 1/6 scale figures. And you can catch her on Friday Flex, I believe, on the 1/6 Scale Man Network. Guys, check out Luminar 843. It's such a pleasure to see you this morning. Mikey Lito talks about or adverts in the middle of content. Yes, Mikey Lito, like it's almost like an intermission, right?
Mm,
You go to a movie that's 3 hours long, but then they have an intermission in the middle of the film, so you can go to the bathroom or get snacks or something. An hour and a half, you kind of need a break, or something like that. At least that's what I'm thinking you're saying, Mikey Lito. Six Scale Mafia says Netflix should have an ad option. They don't have much to offer now, and there's so many streaming services who took all their IPs. Absolutely. I remember when
mm.
Netflix first came out, they had like most of Disney's catalog. You remember, Russ? Do you remember this?
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this recently. Um, I was lamenting the fact that Daredevil wasn't in fact Batman Year One, but what Netflix did with Daredevil was groundbreaking. It was a superb show, and Netflix did so many groundbreaking things back in the day. Um, they were the OGs, I guess. But you know, times change. People see what's successful. They're going to go after it, and I guess Netflix is going to have to, be like the nature of water, my friend.
Well, unless you have Crunchyroll, at least I think it's Crunchyroll, if they're still called that, or another subscription to an anime provider, or you still have hard copies, physical media of anime, you can't watch anime. And so here, Blue Sunrise says Netflix has got the anime and Asian cinema in general. I have
Yeah,
never seen so much Asian cinema on any other streaming service except for Netflix. And recently there was this huge, this is slightly off topic. Recently there was a huge dispute about cricket and cricket subscriptions, and whether or not, and I hope I'm saying this right, guys, whether or not Disney was going to agree to buy cricket subscriptions. And Russ, you and I know very well how popular cricket is, especially in places like India or in the United Kingdom. Well, actually, pretty much half of the world
yeah.
watch cricket religiously. I think it was on Sky TV for a while. I don't even remember where it was, but if you had that subscription, you were going to get viewership. People were going to
It
watch it.
was in England. In England, it used to be on Channel 4. It used to be free to air, and it was always seen as a bit. Actually, cricket had its hardcore fan base, but it was always seen as a bit of a bore. But when Sky took it over, they did what they did with the darts. Sky was transformative. Again, people have caught up with Sky, now, but they absolutely took cricket became really, really rock and roll. I absolutely love cricket. Um, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that cricket is big in former British colonies, right? India and Pakistan and South Africa and New Zealand and Australia.
And the
Those are the big,
Caribbean. Yeah.
yeah, West Indies.
Mhm.
These are the big cricketing nations. I mean, Australia were a juggernaut for so many years. England are up there now, which is great because English cricket was always a bit of a joke, but now we're pretty good. So yeah, I absolutely love it. But where it's huge is it's like a religion in India.
Mhm.
There is only cricket in India. It's viewed by pretty much everybody there. It's like like a religion. So yeah, there's money to be made. The IPL, the Indian Premier League, cricket is huge. They have a franchise model, which now other countries, including England, have adopted. Where they would ship in all the biggest stars of cricket, so you can have all your favourites like playing against each other, but not for their national teams. For now my
So
the
it's
name
like fantasy football,
like
Russ.
fantasy football, but real. So you'd have like half, member of the England team, the India team, Pakistan team, and and all that on one side and the same on the other. Yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and so kind of losing things like that, or it's a huge misstep, especially since it seems like we're seeing quite a few more Asian focused cinema, or at least I think that if Netflix could have somehow brokered a deal for that
Hmm.
somehow, and I know this sounds crazy, but I think that if they could have somehow brokered a deal for a sports division with cricket, it might have saved Netflix. But
It would have done in India, that's for sure. I mean, there's an argument to be made, um, as how much money is too much money. I think with things like cricket that, cheers, Rogue.
Bye.
Take care, mate. Um, you know, as popular as they are, that it still needs, some of it needs to go to free to air. They did this with soccer. England matches often are on terrestrial TV. FA Cup finals on terrestrial TV, because we still do need to inspire young people. And there is an argument that not everybody can afford Netflix and everything else. So we should try to make that stuff available. I know it's not show friends, it's show business, but it seems a shame that the Skies of this world and the BTs of this world and whichever version, ESPN's over here, they should give a little bit of that back and just say, you know what, we'll wear this. Yes, we will allow you to play this test match. You can have it. We're going to air it, and you can air it, and that way, at least it will be a gateway for young kids.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's something to think about when it comes to sports. Sports broadcasting has changed so much. And, I personally am very disappointed that many people cannot turn on the TV and just see sports for free. I
Mm,
think it's honestly just a right that you should be able to turn on the television and watch your favorite sports teams on free TV. It shouldn't have to be paid TV, but they've changed that model. Growing up for you and I, you could watch it all the time.
hmm
And you could watch it for days and days and days. It didn't matter.
Especially
The
cricket,
weekends
yeah.
had a lot of sports on it, and it didn't matter what you were into. Whatever sport you were into was televised. Another sport that I was going to say that India is into, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure of this, is field hockey, which
Mm.
I love as well. And I think that that's also very interesting to note. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of that, but it's a huge sport there. But, the reason why I'm even bringing this up is because, looking at the future of where these networks are going in regards to how they're going, what they're going to be broadcasting, and how the packages are going to be. Because we can't expect that any one network is going to have everything, and that was the advantage of cable television
Mm.
for a while, because it presented a scenario where you got a little bit of everything. You got
Yes.
a little bit of these different areas, and then you could add on channels if you wanted to. And so, I think that moving away from that was not necessarily something that was going to be completely sustainable the whole time. Perhaps, the cable system said, okay, people will subscribe to, the ESPN baseball, let's say it's just baseball, or even to football during the season. And then when the season is over, they might not get that channel, but maybe they want another sports channel, and that'll be picked up, and it kind of balanced out one another. I don't know if economically that worked, but it is something to think about when they have these offerings. And I also don't know whether or not the cable companies can offer as much as they used to. I don't really know. I mean, I don't know what the breakup is like, but what I can say is that the sports channels were the few channels that seem to be growing in viewership
Yeah.
compared to the other networks where nothing was growing. But um, uh, Drew Gordon says he made a very good point about the difference between music or at least the popularity of music in the UK versus other places in the world. But he's also saying it's amazing that now you can find almost any band or track on YouTube if you're curious to check them out. Almost unimaginable in the 80s, when discovering new and old bands actually seemed like discovery. And you're right. I mean, if you were lucky enough to have a parent who had a really good collection, you could feed from that. But there was no place to find new music.
There were
And now you
mystical
can find,
places. There were
yeah.
mystical shops. We had one that somebody had been to, and I found out about it, and then my gang of mates found out. A place called Shades that was up in Wardour Street in London, and you had to go down some steps to get into it. And Shades was solely a heavy metal record store. So you'd go there, and of course, but you'd go there, and there'd be adverts on the walls for we need a bass player, um, all that sort of thing. So there were these little secret little enclaves, and yeah, as he's saying here, it was like discovering it. And I remember I was in HMV in Oxford Circus, and I saw this album cover that was quite cartoonish. And it had this big, warrior on the front holding a British flag, and I thought, me that I'll give this a go, because you had to buy it, take it home, put it on, and if you liked it, you were a winner, and if you didn't, then it was something. It was Manowar. and I became a huge Manowar fan. The album was called Hail to England. And then I said, "Oh, guys, you've just got to. This is just so awesome." And it's, you listen to the lyrics now, and it's all very, very cheesy. But at the time, it was just, it was manna from heaven, manna war
Yeah,
from
it
heaven.
really was. And that was how you discovered new music. Or if you were lucky, you had a friend who had a really good collection, or they worked at a record store, something like that. That's how you got a chance to hear some of the latest things. Or you had an older sibling, like I did,
Mhm.
who was really cool and he always had the best albums and music. So you got exposed to it like that.
I'm sorry,
Um,
Mikey says
yes.
here, Russ, do I agree with that? I think,
Oh,
hold on. NYC,
yeah.
what Disney risks some of its subscriber ratings. Disney Plus in India, something CEO Bridget said that cricket matches are not critical when subscribe. Yeah. Um, do I agree with that?
Who made the comment, Russ?
Mikey Lito, it's back up here. He's talking
Okay,
about
I'm looking
cricket
for it. Yes.
and
Okay, let me
asked
see if I
me.
can find it. I see that it was picked up by Paramount. Is it before? Is it
Yeah,
after that one?
I'm not sure if it's before or after. Hold on.
Okay.
Lost
Hold
it
on,
here.
guys. Just looking for
It's a
Mikey.
5:08. No, it's not even five. I've still got my clock on UK time. Anyway, I'll read it out. New York Times. While Disney risks some
Oh,
subscriber erosion
got
in
it.
its got it in its Disney Plus business in India, the company's CEO Bob Chase said cricket matches are not critical to achieving subscriber targets. Yeah, I would. I
100. What did they have? Like 100 million subscribers on just one YouTube channel?
yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I think maybe though, overall, globally, perhaps not, but in India, it's insanity. It's yeah, um, it's very widely watched in England. You know what, Mikey? I don't know. I don't know enough about it to answer your question, so I'm not gonna sit here and rattle on about it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't help you with that one. I'm afraid.
Well, I think it would be interesting, Mikey Lito, and Russ, the thought of it on Netflix, only because Netflix does have a lot of Asian cinema
Hmm.
and programming. I mean,
Yeah.
I this is the first time in my life that I've seen so much Asian programming and cinema. And a lot of times I just let the martial arts stuff play. I just let it
Mm.
play.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing stuff that I haven't seen before and have always wanted to have access to. In fact, I bet no one has had this much access to cinema the way that we have on Netflix. And that's something that kind of scares me, is that although it's not perfect, although Netflix is not perfect, we're seeing things we've never seen before. And we can't always say that about every network.
Well, it's
Um,
funny, isn't it? You were saying earlier on about what we had in the 80s with the different musical genres and how we just took it all for granted. Well, we are taking streaming for granted now, right? We kind of expect it to be a certain way, and if it's not delivering, as now streamers like Netflix are finding out, we are taking it for granted. They've got to move. They've got to move with the times. Yet Blue Sunrise is leading a charge here on the Netflix fandom for anime, an animation show. Yeah, they are. Um, I can't speak with any authority on it, Blue Sunrise, because I don't tend to watch a lot of anime. However, my daughter does and assures me that they are excellent.
Yeah, and I confess to watching the same animes over and over again. So I'm sorry, guys. I just like to see certain things over and over again. And as I mentioned before, and I'm sure there's a name for it in regards to other than the Indian films that I watch, which there are several, and many of them which I don't remember the names to and are not in English. So I watch the subtitles, and sometimes I don't even watch the subtitles, because you don't almost have to watch the subtitles for every film. I do watch a lot of Asian films that have martial arts in them, as well as the ones where it's set, like 1,000 years ago, and everybody has like hair down to their knees, and
Yeah,
they fly around. And when they fly around, like their
spin
hair flies
around.
around you. Yeah. And all of that, I watch all of that. And I don't know what's going on with all of them, but there's some that are really good, and there's a lot of that also on YouTube as well.
Hmm.
So sometimes it'll ping me and say, oh, there's the new episode. It's not in English, so all the writing is in another language, and I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Mm.
And it's a soap opera. It's actually a soap opera.
Yeah, I caught one of those as well, an Indian soap opera. So someone was getting married. I can't remember, but yeah, it was a thing for a while. I
Yeah.
seem to remember that.
So, we are checking out stuff like this, and we will be prone to watch stuff like that, but we're not going to see stuff like that on practically all of the other streaming networks. It won't be there.
Mm.
So I think that that's really interesting when it comes to not just Netflix. And if you want to call YouTube a streaming service, it is, but it's a little different, where you could watch it for free for probably for perpetuity, because they want that advertising revenue to come. So
It's
they're going to
quite
still offer
strange,
the
isn't
free
it?
version.
It's quite strange with YouTube because they did try to become a streamer. This is where Cobra Kai started. Don't forget YouTube Red and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff, and it just didn't work. And and for YouTube to not work, it's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? Because it seems to be, this is like literally a corporate no-brainer. Well, why don't we just start making our own stuff? I mean, billions of people are watching us every day. Uh, yeah, weirdness. Um,
And Tom Jr. Jackson says, please check out Blue Sunrise's YouTube channel. Certainly do. And I confess that I have not checked out Blue Sunrise's YouTube channel, but I will now. So,
mhm.
guys, please check out Blue Sunrise's YouTube channel. And Drew Gordon says, thanks. Yes, it was so different. Mystical shops, late night radio, TV shows my brother and I only discovered Kiss because we've recorded a film on the VHS and let it record the late night shows after. I remember um
Oh
Ricky
God,
Rackman in
was
I can't remember the show. It was called it was on MTV. There was like a metal
Headbangers Ball.
show.
Headbangers Ball.
Yes, Headbangers Ball. You remember, Russ?
Yeah, yeah. But we see on the radio here. He was talking about late night radio. We had Rock with Tommy Vance, but I'm just trying to think. Is that that Kiss? Was that Detroit Rock City? Was that the film that you take? Because there was a couple that sort of featured kids, and there was one about these heavy metal kids trying to get to a concert. That's what I was thinking about there. But do we have any other topics we need to touch? Otherwise, we're gonna wax lyrical about cricket and metal, two of my favourite subjects, for a while.
Yeah, and absolutely not right now, because we won't have enough time to go into it. And thank you, Retro Nerd Girl also said, I got my medal from MTV's Headbangers Ball, like I did. And Russ says that it was a different show in the UK, but I remember Ricky Rackman on Headbangers Ball interviewing everybody. And it was fantastic. Retro Nerd Girl, you and I got to talk about that one, Retro Nerd Girl.
Hmm.
And also, Drew Gordon has a YouTube channel. Please check out Drew Gordon's YouTube channel. And no, I don't actually have anything else to talk about, only because we've kind of run out of time. And Mario Lopez says that Netflix is still his favorite streaming service because of non-English content they have. That's right, Mario.
Mm.
And it's not just one or two languages, probably about 30 different languages that Netflix has of content that is not English, guys. Where else are you going to find that? Guys, please subscribe to my channel, Positive Fandom. Press the like button and the notification bell so that you get notified when I have a new video going forward. Russ, is there anything else you want to mention before we bring the show to a close?
Yeah, I guess we can park. I guess we'll park Obi-Wan till next week, because then we'll have seen the finale. But Mikey Leo brings up a point. Someone asked earlier about Ezra Miller. Are we going to talk about Ezra? I think, yeah, briefly. Uh, Obviously, there's problems going on there, but if we take his personal things out of it, for me, Mikey, he's replaceable in a way that Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa are not. Like, if you found out at the end of the Flash movie that he goes through the multiverse and he never comes back, and and we find out that Wally West is now Flash, or he comes back and he looks like a different person, blah blah blah, no one's going to kick off. No one would kick off. But if they suddenly, we saw what happened when they were talking about replacing Superman with the Ta-Nehisi Coates thing and the Val Zod thing, people went insane about that. And it'd be the same with Gal Gadot. Like, oh, we don't like her, we're going to get a new Wonder Woman. People are like, are you mad? I think With Ezra Miller, no one's going to lose any sleep over his replacement as the Flash. But what's going on around that guy at the moment is hugely controversial. He has issues and problems and needs help. As far from what I know, that would be what I would say about it. But as purely as a entertainment thing, yeah, you know, if he was replaced as Flash, nobody would be bent out of shape.
Yeah, I think that they're going to have to take the hit and retire that film, burn it, do whatever they have to do, digitally erase it, delete it.
Do you think, do you think do you think that after all the money and all of the reshoots, they've literally now made this film what twice or three times, right? Eh, Do you think that they would just say this is just too much PT? We're going to can it.
I think they should, but they may find that they can't. The only reason why they're not doing it is because they're not in a financially good place.
Hmm.
And it is a lot of money to have thrown out, but the studios have thrown out money like this before. They've made mistakes on deals. They've made mistakes when they've signed contracts to people who never delivered shows. The studio has lost this much money
Here's
before.
looking at you, JJ, with your $500 million and you're having produced nothing. Personally, hugely relieved that he's produced nothing, because everything he was talking about, the man that saved both Star Wars and Star Trek coming anywhere near my beloved Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the the trepidation, and then of course when the thing that he did, his big announcement that he was working on, well, everybody knows my opinion on that. um, Somebody asked, I think it might have been Bloodsport, can the Snyderverse return with what's happening with Ezra Miller and Mira? Let's see, I remembered. Yeah, I think Mira herself is perhaps, I said this last week, perhaps undeserving of some of the stuff that's been thrown her way. I think she's made some mistakes, certainly, but I think she can certainly come back. And I think, yeah, I think we tend to listen to a lot of the same stuff, right? So we're going to hear a certain perspective on what people think about her. And to be honest with you, some of the channels that I listen to live, when they were when the verdict was been announced, were rather unedifying. So yeah, I think she's fine. I think she can come back. I think that will all be moved on from in a little bit.
Yeah, her
But
career's not over. She's got a wonderful career ahead of her.
yeah, well, they could use another actor. They may well do. Mario. Everybody's saying it's going to be Amelia Clark. Fine. Um, but no, I don't think that would be, if the Snyderverse was ever to come back. These two are not important enough to make it or break it, right? If Henry Cavill doesn't come back, then nobody's interested.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
me.
they
It's
better
like
not do that.
who wants to see Justice League 2 and 3 with not Henry Cavill and not Ben Affleck?
No,
It's just like, well, I don't want to watch that.
I'm
Then
not
that's just,
interested.
yeah. Make it into an animated movie. Then do that. Forget it.
Yeah, and I think that would be the worst mistake in the history of Hollywood if they brought back Superman without Henry Cavill. That's
Right?
that's my call.
He's
Um,
aged out apparently. Aged out at 39.
Hell no, he looks better than ever. So,
Hmm.
Russ, where can people find you?
Well, as Tom Junior Jackson kindly put on the chat earlier on, you can go and have a look at my 1,000 year out of date website. You can ping me here via our or you can contact me via the website at contact@russellwhitfield.com. I'm on Facebook. It's not a professional page. It's just sort of pictures of me, in various states of drunkenness and undress. So if that's your cup of tea, then you can try and friend me on there. But I don't really use it. I'm only on Facebook to sort of find out what's happening with entertainment, boxing, and cricket, things like that, just to keep up with the news. And I didn't know that was coming out. Click. That's kind of what it's there for. But I'm around.
Excellent. Excuse me.
But more importantly, where can we find you, RM?
Yes, guys, you can always find me on Positive Fandom here on my YouTube channel, and I stream on Twitch simultaneously. So, hello to you guys who are watching on Twitch. Um, You know, obviously on Sunday mornings, you can catch me here on our Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we parlay all the fandom. And guys, do come back. If you are a creator, definitely check into this show so we can promote your YouTube channels and whatever creations you have. So please do check in with us so we know what's going on with you, especially when you have new work coming out. And thank you, Blue Sunrise. That's very nice of you.
Very nice.
So definitely do that when you guys have new stuff coming out. We love to do that and support other creators in the community. Monday nights, you can find me on Midnight's Edge show, Toxic Femininity, where I stream with Lorena Creel and Nina Infinity at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me streaming on the 1/6 Scale Man Network on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. On Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, you can find me on Lorena Creole's Twitch channel, where we stream our show, Toxic Male Appreciation. On Fridays at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you can find me on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom Connors and Andre. And on the weekends, on Fridays or Saturday nights, sometimes you can find me on the Post Geek Singularity Network, streaming on Midnight Musings with Robert Meyer Burnett. Now, coming up on Tuesday, I'm going to be reviewing a movie called, I think it's called Be Careful, Leo Grand. And it's, I'm going to be doing a review on Positive Fandom with Lorena Creel. We're going to be reviewing the movie. And the movie is about an older woman, a retired teacher, who hires a man to have sex with her. So definitely do check it out. The older woman is played by Leah, I think it's Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson. It's a British film. And I assure you, this is no ordinary film, guys. They made a movie about a woman who is paying for sex. Is it a sign of the times? I don't know, guys.
And on that note,
do join us. Do join Lorena and I as we review, the movie on Tuesday. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Positive Fandom. And yes, on that note, on behalf of Positive Fandom, and thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people. On behalf of myself, Mmmm, and Russ Whitfield, thank you for coming out and joining us in the chat. You guys are the best. It's always so great to see you all. And please come back again for a new episode every Sunday morning. And to all of you out there, wherever you are, happy Father's Day. Again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And just always remember to please be kind, guys. And you all take care.
thanks so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye now.